Run for the Wall is not a motorcycle run. It's a mission.
You can't prepare anybody for the emotional experiences that they're going to feel.
If you can make it to the wall and let the wall do what it was intended to do, I think you're better off.
My name is Stan Handley. My road name is Ironfish. I get that from a couple of different directions. I used to be in the Navy. I rode submarines for 21 years. Starting my motorcycle riding experiences, I was looking for a road name and was reading an article in the Spokesman Review, and it was about the code talkers from World War II. And they were talking about the evacuation of MacArthur from the Philippines and how he was going to be taken out with a submarine. And there was no word in the Navajo language for submarine, but they do have a combination of words. It's called Nashlo, which means iron fish. So I stuck the two together, and that became my road name, is Ironfish. I wanted to put my own moniker on before somebody tagged me with one. It's a little bit better choice that way. And I was honored and humbled to be asked to be the route coordinator for 2013. And it's an awesome responsibility. It's very humbling to know that I'm going to be the guy that's out there leading the potential of 1,200 to 1,300 veterans across country from Rancho Cucamonga to Washington, D.C. on this 25th anniversary of Run for the Wall. Back in 2005, I finally got another bike. I bought me a nice Harley and was at a Super Bowl party with some friends of mine. And this retired Master Chief, Ralph Davis, came up to me and asked me what I was going to do the next year for a ride on my bike. And I said, heck, I don't know. I said, putsy around here, go over the coast, whatever. And he flipped me a challenge coin. And it was a Run for the Wall challenge coin. And he says, try this. And I said, what's it about? He says, just go home and look it up on the internet. So I went home and I looked it up on the internet, and I was immediately intrigued. And having a son that lived in the Washington, D.C. area, I was thinking, this is really going to work out good. So I asked my wife, how would you like to fly back to D.C. and visit with Jerry? And she said, sure, when are we going to go? I said, you're flying, I'm riding a bike. And that's how I got my first start with Run for the Wall, and that was in 2006. That was my FNG year. Got onto the website and started post on a Run for the Run, met up with a gentleman from the west side of Washington State by the name of Bob Kelly. And Bob and I got together in Oregon and made our transition from there down to Rancho Cucamonga. And it was a great ride on the way down, but both of us were overcome with emotion when we pulled into the parking lot at the Hilton and saw all those motorcycles and all of those flags and all of these guys running around, and it was just really an overwhelming experience. And talked to Bob later on that evening when we were in our room, and I said, how'd you feel when you came in? And he says, I couldn't hardly keep the tears out from blinding me. And I said, I had the same problem. And as we progressed through our FNG year, we found out that that was a everyday occurrence, and sometimes 2 to 3 times a day, depending on where you're at and what the particular circumstance was. At the end of the run, when we got to Washington, D.C., I had found out what it meant when they said we came as strangers and we went home as brothers. It's a unique experience. It's a moving experience. On Tuesday morning, there is an organized ride. Group of people get together and they all go to Riverside National Cemetery. And there is a Medal of Honor rotunda over there, and there's usually 2 Medal of Honor recipients there, sometimes 3, to share their experiences and to meet with the riders that go over there. And Riverside National Cemetery is going to become the Arlington of the West one day as it's continuing to grow and grow and grow. It gives the FNGs a chance to get kind of a little bit of a feeling before they ever get on the road about what it's going to be like when they get to the other end.
Terry Braid is my name. This is my first time on the Run to the Wall, hence the FNG patch here. That stands for the first time you've gone on this ride. I'm out of Spokane, Washington. I live in northern Idaho, but just across the state line. Last year at the Harley dealer there, they had a group of people going to Run for the Wall, and they wanted escorts to escort them out of town. So I thought, well, hey, that's a neat deal. I'll do that. So I escorted them out of town. Didn't think much more of it till January this past year. I went to a meeting at the Harley dealer, and they were talking about Run to the Wall for this year, 2013. And I thought that might be a fun deal to do. My brother and I said, okay, that's what we're gonna do. And we checked into it, signed up for it, not quite knowing what we were getting into. You know, anybody could look it up on YouTube. Just put in Run for the Wall and pages will come up. You could see what happens along the way. Of course, seeing a whole town turn out to welcome you, or ceremonial dances by Native Americans in New Mexico, or VFW halls saying, hey, come on in guys, we're gonna feed you for free. Or you go to a VA hospital just to talk to the patients and stuff, you know. You see all that stuff, but I'm sure when you actually experience it, it's gonna be a lot different.
My name's Bill Braid. I'm from Spokane, Washington. I didn't serve in Vietnam. I didn't enlist until 1973. I did my 3 years, got out for 14 and a half, and then went back in and finished my 20 as a recruiter. When I went back in, it was like going home. It's unbelievable. It just felt right. It felt comfortable. And coming and talking to these guys, even though I wasn't in Vietnam, I can relate with a lot of these guys. They're close to my age. I'm here for 2 reasons. One, my brother Terry is my best friend. 6 years older than me. He kept leaving to Vietnam. Our older brother is 100% disabled from the Navy. He was in the Gulf of Tonkin on the USS Forrestal, I think in '65, when it caught on fire and killed 134 men on deck. As luck would have it, or as God would have it, he was one of the first ones interviewed and reported back that he was okay. We were very fortunate. We waited a week before we found out. And I'm here for him as well. And he wanted to come. We even talked about him driving a chase vehicle, and then he realized that he physically he couldn't do it. He couldn't do what was taken. So doing this for the oldest brother because he couldn't be here. But this ride so far, we've got about 1,300 miles under our belts, and the camaraderie is just building. It's just like when I went back in the Army after 14 and a half years. It's a brotherhood. It's just great. So I can only imagine the trip from here to the wall.
Right now we're at a national cemetery, which is quite impressive. We got to see the Medal of Honor Hall. Has a list of every Medal of Honor recipient there. And now we're down here by the POW MIA section. One of the men that was on the Medal of Honor wall, his son is a sculptor, made the POW sculpture. For years and years, I didn't think much about Vietnam or my military and stuff, although I did retire 20 years active duty in the Army. I didn't think much about POWs. But then about 4 years ago, I'm from Idaho there, we got a kid from Idaho that was captured over in Afghanistan. He's still either a POW or MIA. And so that got me more into thinking about the wars, the prices paid for them and stuff. And now I'm on this ride here, and I think, you know, if I don't get choked up about it, but we'll see how this ride goes. And I think it brings a lot of awareness to a lot of people.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's light?
The first day we all gather at a place called Victory Garden Mall in Rancho Cucamonga and have a combined aspect of both the central and the southern route that are there, because we all leave from the same place. And we have a massive morning meeting.
We're riding to raise public awareness for POW MIA issues. We're riding for those of all wars who have fallen, KIA, who are still listed as MIA POW. We're riding for our brave heroes in countries all around the world, protecting those liberties that we hold dear. And we ride for those who can't.
Spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Hi, I'm Carlos Alvarado from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Joined the service in 75, combined service 31 years. After 22 years, Navy Naval Reserves, went into the Army Guard and did one deployment to Afghanistan in 09 and 10, almost a full year. I got a bike when first opportunity and fell in love with riding. It's the place that I feel the best, makes me feel good, helps me cope. And with that, I started getting involved with the veterans groups, the Legion Riders, Patriot Guard, because I wanted to give back to the veterans. And with that, I heard about it, so I contacted my state coordinator, and about 5-6 months ago, whatever it was, started preparing myself, getting ready. Well, the real neat thing is everybody here is so supportive. I've never been welcomed so much as a veteran and treated so well. Everybody has told me, welcome home. I've heard that more than I ever have in 31 years of service. And everybody's tried to tell me this is the ride of your life, emotional roller coaster, healing, experience of a lifetime, life-changing. I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. I've always wanted to ride across country. It's a dream of mine since I was a kid on a motorcycle, and to do it this way with these people.
The next day was a destination to Gallup, New Mexico. And when we get off of the interstate and pull into Gallup, it's about a 15-mile parade. And that's the first parade that the participants in FNG's Run for the Wall get on a run. And it's right down through Gallup, New Mexico on Route 66. And the people are lined up out there on the road. They're waving, they're honking their horns, they're throwing signs up that said, you know, we love you vets, welcome to Gallup. You know, we support Run for the Wall. And then fortunately last year we went into Red Rock State Park, which is at the east end of Gallup. And the Navajo Nation basically turns out for us there. They have the traditional center drums. They have the traditional warriors dance. They do a march in and presentation of the colors as they march around the center drums. And then it's the invite to the warriors dance. And the Native Americans will come out and coax some of the participants of Run for the Wall to come in and participate in the warriors dance as we dance around the center drums also.
It just gets in your blood. I mean, it's things happen when you're out there. I mean, it's not all the time. It's not a constant thing. I remember my first one when I rode into Gallup, New Mexico. We parked that year we weren't at Red Rocks. We were at the town square, which is a circle in Gallup, because Native Americans dance in a circle there. And I pulled up, and we'd come through town, and we'd come up the hill and made the right turn, and they dipped the American flag and come to present arms as we're coming around the corner, and everybody's saluting. And I got pretty emotional at that point. And then when I shut the road guards kept saying, bring your bike up closer. We got to pack more bikes in here. Move it up. I said, I can't even see the bike in front of me because the tears were running down my face. When I shut my motorcycle off, I could hear the drums, the Indians, you know, pounding out the rhythm to their dance, and called my wife. I called my wife every time we stopped that run to make sure she knew I was okay. And I called her, and I was just sobbing. She says, call me later when you can talk. I have no idea what you're talking about. But it was a pretty neat thing, because in Gallup, the Navajo invite us into their circle of dance. Native Americans just don't do that all the time. You see, the American Indians honor their warriors. They celebrate their going into battle, and they celebrate their homecoming, and they put their warriors on a pedestal. And that's what they do for us when we're there.
Hi, this is our second day out. Yesterday morning we started at Rancho Cucamonga, and we went it was a pretty long ride, about 390 miles the first day. Of course, it wasn't too bad because the temperatures were in the low hundreds, you know, so it isn't like it got hot or anything. But all in all, it was pretty neat.
It's interesting isn't even the word, exciting. I think, as we go down and see the people on the bridges. That's the first people we saw, people on the bridges, the overpasses as we went by, and they're waving their flags and waving to us. Makes me think of why I'm really here. Usually when I go on a motorcycle ride, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And this is a lot about both.
The town of Needles went and opened their arms to us. They fed us, had a parade through town. It was pretty neat. Last night we made it to Williams, Arizona. The whole town turned out to welcome us. We made a complete lap through town. We could have been doing this forever because the leader went and ended up with the tail guy, you know, just like a big circle.
The American Legion there had just a huge dinner for us. They had white and dark meated turkey and sausage and roast beef and potatoes, and it's just amazing. It fed us really, really well. Very, very kind people. Even when we went to our hotel, the lady that was there asked how our dinner was. She wanted to make sure we were taken care of. I thought that was quite nice of her. And then today, coming into Gallup, the people on the streets for miles and miles, it was great. it made me feel very, very good. It's been a fun journey. I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
I wasn't sure how far out the welcoming committee started, but I heard it was about 60 miles out. People from all over the area turned out waving flags. It's hard to describe what it's like going through these towns. It's very emotional, and it reminds you there's a lot of patriotism left in this country. I mean, you don't see it. You don't hear anybody talk about it. But on this ride, that's all you see. Every little town, every medium-sized town, it is pure patriotism. It's really a great feeling.
And then the next morning we start out for the next day. And that's a long, long day for us because we're going all the way up into the mountains of New Mexico to about 8,500 feet to a town called Angel Fire. And that's a pretty dynamic place. Angel Fire affects most everybody that goes there in a different way. Dr. Westfall, who lost his son in Cantillon, started Angel Fire a number of years ago, and in a tribute to his son, he took dirt from Angel Fire and went to Cantillon, Vietnam, and spread that dirt out, and then picked up dirt from Cantillon and brought it back to Angel Fire and spread it out there, and commenced to build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial at Angel Fire. And of recent, they have started a bricklaying program there where you can purchase a brick with your name or a loved one's name or a buddy's name and the branch of service he was in and the years that he was in the service. And they lined the walk around the Angel Fire Memorial with these bricks. But Angel Fire has a different effect on a lot of people. It's almost the same effect. It's where I say it's the first metamorphosis starts to happen on the run. It was where mine was. Then we're off across the plains. We leave Eagle Nest in early morning, drive down through a canyon, go out to a little town called Cimarron, New Mexico, which is right on the Santa Fe Trail. And we go through Cimarron to head out to Raton, New Mexico, once again crossing the Santa Fe Trail a couple of times. We do try to make a little bit of note of that to people that, you know, this is kind of an interesting part because you're going to be going across a piece of history. And then after we leave Raton, New Mexico, which is a fuel stop and a little bit of nourishment, we parade through Raton, New Mexico, go back out onto the Interstate 25 now, heading up toward Colorado, and go over the pass, Raton Pass, and drop down into a little town called Trinidad, Colorado. At Trinidad, Colorado, Raton Pass and Raton are all part of the Santa Fe Trail. We parade down through Trinidad and we head out through grasslands of Colorado and head towards a little town called La Junta, Colorado. And it's a unique little town. It's got a feedlot on one end and a feedlot on the other end and a gas station in the middle. And it's a little bit bigger than that, but that's kind of the node area of the town because it's a railhead for shipping out beef that's been raised in the area. But we have a great contingency of people in Colorado in that area that have taken the time to donate funds, donate food, and donate fuel to us. And then from there, we leave and head towards Goodland, Kansas. Goodland, Kansas is a relatively new stop on Run for the Wall. We've only been there for about 3 years now. But the town has turned itself inside out for us. They have us come into their used to be National Guard Armory there. The locals have had the high school band comes in and provides entertainment. There's usually a couple of very, very talented young singers that are there singing songs. Most of them are patriotic songs for us. And then the mayor and some of the city council people are there. Really a great time to be with those folks and to experience their show of appreciation to us for what we have done, and yet we are so grateful for them being there and supplying that kind of good time for us, to be able to sit down in a relaxed atmosphere and feeding us a very wonderful meal. The next morning, we head off to Junction City, Kansas. We have a stop in Oakley, Kansas, where we have a lunch and another donated fuel stop for us, which is really great. The town people have a nice park there in Oakley, and it's set up for us to come in and stage our bikes right along on the road there, access to the park, go in and have a nice lunch, relax, and then we leave there and we head on down the road towards Junction City, Kansas. And oh, what a parade that is. We come off of the interstate and we go underneath the freeway and we go around in a roundabout and we head down South Washington Avenue towards a memorial that is set up in the middle of Junction City. And once you make that transition and you kind of get up to the top of the hill, it's a straight shot of about a mile down the road, and it's nothing but flags. People out there waving flags and clapping and whistling and cheering and saluting you as you come into town. And then we have a ceremony there at the memorial for our fallen. And in case most people don't know about it, Junction City is actually the home of Fort Riley, Kansas, and the Big Red One. Those people come out and supply support to us also. Junction's another place that's just really, really unique. It's kind of like the second big parade that you get going into someplace. The transition down the interstate going towards Junction City is so unique because it's a very wide 4-lane, 2 going, 2 coming. And way out before you ever see the first sign that says Junction City, Kansas, you'll see 1 or 2 people on an overpass standing up there with a flag and giving you a salute. Maybe they'll have a banner dropped over the top of the overpass that says, "We support Run for the Wall," or "We love our veterans," or "Welcome home." And as you get closer and closer to Junction, the more and more overpasses you come across, the more and more people are on them, and then pretty soon you see an overpass that's got 2 great big ladder trucks up there with a humongous American flags flying off of it, or an American flag off of one and a POW-MIA flag off of another one. And you get back into that emotional thing again. You know, you're trying to figure out, how am I going to ride my bike down here and continue to do this? Because it's so moving. And it's the parade that the guys that come back from Vietnam never got. And it's a long time coming, but it's their parade. And it's great that they know that there is a grateful nation out there for what they've done.
My name is Karen E. Forrester. I'm from Austin, Texas. People call me Hoops. They call me that because I travel with a hula hoop. I've had a great time getting veterans hooping with me, because you can't not smile when you're hooping. I came to Run for the Wall in 2009 for the first time. My father is Captain Ron Forrester, United States Marine Corps, missing in action December 27th, 1972, 1 month to the day before they signed the peace treaty. He was part of Operation Linebacker 2. He was bombardier navigator on an A-6A intruder stationed at Nam Phong, Thailand. They'd gone to take out a bridge. It was a solo mission, so there was no one to see whether or not anyone got out of the plane. There are conflicting reports. And until JPAC is able to go and actually excavate that crash site, we won't have any answers as to whether or not 2 Marines were in that plane when it went down, or if anyone got out. I first became active in the POW-MIA community when I was 14 years old. Maybe those teenage hormones hit, and I was really mad that no one could tell me what happened to my dad, and I decided to get active to do something about it versus just feel sorry for myself. Growing up with this issue has been challenging. When I was 20, Scott Spiker was shot down, and knowing that he had 2 small children and that there was going to be another generation that would have to deal with this, it really changed me. And instead of just looking for my father, it became about all of them. And they all need to come home. There are 1,648 guys still missing from Southeast Asia, and that's 1,648 families who are still waiting to know what happened to their loved one. When I came to Run for the Wall, it was because one of the road guards on the southern route had asked me if he could carry my dad's picture cross country. And I, of course, was honored, and I'd never really heard of Run for the Wall before. He called me about a week later and he said, I've been thinking about it. He said, you've got a lot of MIAs and I've got a lot of scoots. How many pictures can you get me? And that was 2009. And that first year I had only gathered 40 pictures and bios of missing in action to be carried across country and left at the wall. I decided I was going to fly out to Rancho Cucamonga and hand deliver the pictures. I wanted to get to meet the writers and say thank you. One of my girlfriends said, don't do that. I said, are you crazy? Of course I'm going to go tell them thank you. And she said, no, ride with them for at least one day. And my immediate thought was, you've got to be kidding me. You know, I'd never really ridden motorcycles. I mean, I'd been on one, but the idea of going down the highway, that was a little out of my comfort zone. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I've been coming back ever since. Now I join up in Odessa, Texas, which is my hometown. It's my father's hometown, so it's a special place for me to start. I fly from Austin. I get to Odessa the easy way on a plane and then hop on the back of a bike. So this was my 4th year to get to do that, and it's amazing to be around people who care and show support to family members, because in our day-to-day lives, people don't understand. They look at your bracelet and think maybe you have a medical issue. And then if you do explain it to them, they may say, oh, wow, that's cool. Well, cool is not quite the right word, but I appreciate the sentiment. But here is like coming home to a group of people that'll give you a hug anytime you need it. You get to travel with all these amazing heroes that have served our country and haven't forgot about my personal hero. So it's very rewarding. So much so that I want to be able to share it with other MIA families. So this year, one of the things we did on the southern route was try to bring MIA families to the different overnight stops, to the different programs, so they could share their story but also get the same hugs and the love and be surrounded by all the heroes as well. Because it's very healing for us to know that we're not by ourselves and that we're not standing alone. And that's very much what this Run for the Wall family has taught me. I had just turned 2 years old. Daddy was deployed just a couple months before my 2nd birthday. So I know my father through the memories of other people. I don't remember him. But one of my earliest memories is I used to get in trouble for using the phone in my grandparents' back bedrooms, and at both grandparents' houses too. I'd get in trouble because they'd catch me back there, dialing the phone, and who knows who I was reaching with those, you know, that rotary dial in my little fingers. But I knew that the last time I talked to my dad, he was on the phone, and I kept thinking that maybe I could find him there. And now all these years later, I'm still looking for my dad, and thanks to Run for the Wall, I'm not doing it by myself. Keep in touch with writers throughout the year. We go visit each other at one another's homes. And this year, going back to Odessa, even though that is my hometown, and I haven't lived there in many years, but it felt like going home, not because it was Odessa, it felt like going home because I was coming to see my Run for the Wall family. And I was very excited to get to spend the next 7 days going across the country with them.
When we leave Junction City, the next morning we're headed off to Wentzville, Missouri. In the middle of the day, our transition there, we go to a place called Concordia, and that's a relatively new stop for us. We do a gas stop and then we form back up as an entire pack and ride down to their city park, where the townsfolk have laid out a fantastic lunch for us.
Hi, I'm Lori Wilson, and I'm from Concordia, Missouri. And I'm the coordinator for the Concordia Food and Fuel Stop. I first witnessed the Run for the Wall coming down I-70. Didn't really know what it was about, but here's all these motorcycles, and then we'd see it on the 6 o'clock news through the Kansas City channels. So that's how I kind of first heard about it. And then I started donating ice from our convenience store for when they started stopping in Oak Grove, Missouri. And I did that for 2 years. And then I just kind of jokingly said, how can I get those guys to come here? I want to be part of that. And Oak Grove fell through, and the rest is history. They come to Concordia, Missouri now. And I volunteered for 1 year, and then the next year they said, we want you to be the coordinator. And I was like, oh no, you guys aren't leaving me. And they said, no, we'll still be a part of. So, great bunch of people, be our 5th year, and it's a great town to come to. My day starts the night before. Our Lions Club donates the picnic tables that they own. We bring them to the park, we set everything up. I'm running to the grocery store, getting fruits and vegetables, picking up buns, getting to the community center, because we have to be ready the next morning. We have people that donate roasters. We need lots of roasters to fill meat for 600 people. We do pulled pork, we do ham, and it's all donated by Tyson's Foods. Great organization. The buns, everything. Our city donates all the fruit and vegetables. So we just need volunteers to bag the fruits and vegetables up and get these to the park. I see those guys as they're entering the park. That's the first I see of them. I don't get to see them fuel. I see it on video. I see it on pictures. And I don't get to see all that commotion at that end of town. I see the commotion when they come to the park. And that is just Goosebump City. It's just the most wonderful feeling to see all of them come to our town. As soon as most of them there have sat and ate, I make it my goal to go to every single table and just shake everyone's hand, tell them who I am, and thank you for serving, thanks for coming here. And not one person ever says, oh, we expect it. They always look at us and go, no, thank you. Thank you for being here for us. That's an emotional day for me. It started out as donating ice, then it started about getting involved, and now it's just a passion. My uncles were lifers in the military. In fact, I just lost one from leukemia, and they're just getting older and older, so as a younger person, you have to help them out, and they helped me out so greatly that day by greeting people and baking cookies and bagging vegetables, just little teeny tiny things. But without their presence, I'd be lost. And it's a great vision. Every one of these gentlemen deserved this welcome home. And I was a small child when I remember seeing the airplanes land and these gentlemen kissing the ground. And I remember the people, you know, rioting and picketing, you know, and I didn't understand what that was about. I was too young. But now I get it. They never got the welcome home that they needed. So, welcome to Concordia.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's just like one of the greatest days of my life every year, so.
You can't say enough thank yous for what these people do day in and day out in preparing for us to get there for the hour and a half that we're going to be in town. It's just dynamic that they come out and they do all of this for us, and then we turn around and we leave. And they start getting ready for the next year when we come in. The first year we came out of Concordia, unbeknown to us as we were going into Concordia, going through town, there's some schools along both sides of the road, but they're old Midwest schools. They're just a great big building, and the playgrounds and everything are out in the back, so you don't really recognize them in schools. And as we're coming back out, here's all of these kindergarten through 6th grade kids out there standing on the street, waving flags and cheering and clapping with their teachers and the principals and the administrators as we come back out of town. And again, it's that parade that we didn't have when we came back from Vietnam. And then down the road we go.
My name is Ray McDowell. My road name is Too Tall. I am president of Run for the Wall 2013, our 25th year. This will be my 12th year to do Run for the Wall. And I've been route coordinator, platoon leader, assistant platoon leader, and I've been on the board of directors now for 3 years for Run for the Wall. The first year my wife and I did it, we started in Odessa. We've always done the southern route. And we started in Odessa. We didn't go to California and start and come all the way across. We did the run and we were hooked. In Jackson, Mississippi, the Harley dealership has a program. When we first get there, everybody comes in. The Harley dealership has paid for our fuel in the past. When we get in there, the Black Daggers will do a skydive out of helicopters, and it's a jump team. And they come in, pop smoke, and do the whole deal. I mean, it's just awesome. They have a deal there that's called the Trail of Honor, where you walk out of the back of the Harley dealership and there's trees, and there's a trail, and the community, they come in and set all of this up. Other people get to come, but it coincides when we get there. They have every war that the United States has been involved in. As you go around, I mean, you walk through the woods and then you make a circle and then you come back, and it starts with the War of 1812, the Spanish-American War, the Revolutionary War, and they have people dressed in that time period in their regular dress. And it goes, you know, World War I, II, Vietnam, and the present, Iraqi and Afghanistan. And it's quite a deal to see that.
And Wentzville is another one of those towns that has basically just turned out for us. They have a fantastic VFW there. Puts on a wonderful meal for us. They let us stay on their grounds. If we got people that are camping out, they stay there on the grounds. They have restroom facilities and shower facilities available. They provide us with a great meal at night, another great meal in the morning.
With our buddies beside us, we stood brave and tall. We are making the run for the wall. Though we suffered so much, we find healing today. We will rev up our Harleys and ride from LA to DC. Look up names that we know, stand and fall. We are making the run for the wall. May our sons and our daughters in this our fair land have the wisdom for peace, have the courage to stand for our country and fight if they must, lest she fall. We are making the run. We are making the run. We are making the run for the wall. Thank you very much.
Wentzville, we go to a VA medical center, and that's a very interesting place to stop because we have a chance to interact with the veterans' patients that are there. There are people within that hospital that come out and they line the sidewalk as we come in, and they're anxious to see us as we get there, and the writers go over and talk with them and interact very well with them. One year we had a gentleman come out on a gurney, couldn't walk, but he come out on a gurney, and in front of his gurney he's got a plastic model of a Harley V-twin engine on there, and he goes, "This is my bike. This is all I got, but this is my bike." And everybody was just, you know, gripping and grinning with him and interacting very well with him. I think he ended up with more patches and more pins than anybody else around there. But we do a couple of plaque presentations there, appreciation and gratitude for what they have done for us and what they continue to do for our veterans and for welcoming us every year as we come in there. And then unfortunately we have to pack up and leave again.
Well, I'm Kevin Hutchinson. I'm the mayor of Columbia, Illinois. I served 4 years in the military. I was with the 82nd Airborne, the 4th Infantry Division, and the 2nd Infantry Division. About 4 years ago, a local resident of Columbia was on the ride and asked if we could do something to honor the riders when they come across the JB Bridge and under the Fish Lake overpass. So we decided that it's the least we could do with everything that they are doing to honor our veterans. So we got the fire department, our 20-foot by 60-foot flag, and about 100 citizens, and we lined the overpass. It's a real nice visual for the folks coming across the Jefferson Barracks Bridge, welcoming them to Columbia, Illinois. I think it's important to educate and to make it very aware. These are the men and women that made our nation what it is, and that's why we're a free country today.
What day is it?
I think it's the 7th day.
Well, for me, it's day 10, left on the 11th from home. So they're kind of running together. A lot of different experiences. Really cool to see all the people supporting us, like on the overpasses. That is so neat. Just watching everybody, you know. One who were headed for Junction City, we were getting rained and hailed on, and there was one guy on the bridge standing there by himself, and I was actually behind the pack, and he stayed at attention saluting till everybody passed. It was incredible. It was incredible, the support that I've seen. Well, I got to do Missing Man through my home in Albuquerque and Santa Fe from Route 66 to Camel Rock. I was writing that Missing Man formation for a lot of people. Our assistant state coordinator lost his daughter. Her road name was Skittles. I was doing it for her. I have a brother that went to Vietnam. He came home, but never came home. All the people that I've served with in 31 years, and everybody that served before us, my brothers and my sisters. Since I talked to you guys last, I started as a volunteer in the staging crew. We get to the stops first. We ride as a single platoon, and we get there and we stage everybody, hence the name, in place so that they've got someplace to go and be organized every time we make a stop, whether it be lunch, some of the places that we stopped at, you know, to visit, or just for gas. I myself had a couple of mechanical issues, had to replace tires, picked up something in the road, had a stripped shifter. So I fell out a couple of times, but I keep going. I keep coming back. I haven't given up. I'm not giving up.
Do you still have that piece with you that was in your tire?
Oh,
can you?
I think I might actually have it in this pocket.
All right.
We left Winslow, Arizona, and this fell off of a Gold Wing. It missed, they were in the platoon ahead of us. It missed my platoon leader, but I was riding directly behind him. This punched a hole right in my rear tire, and it was done. So I was trailered into Gallup, found a replacement that got me into Albuquerque, had to buy another tire so that I could have tires that matched. But I didn't miss my Missing Man, and it hasn't stopped me, and I'm still going.
Croydon's another unique little place where we go into and go through the town down into their county fairgrounds park area. And as with every place else, once again, there is these people who have turned themselves out through the year. And again, you can't say thank you enough. But they're all volunteers, and they come out there and they anxiously await for us to show up, and then they pour themselves out to us and provide all of this wonderful friendship and camaraderie and a great meal. And then the next morning we start out all over again and head off down the road for the next stop. We make a visit to the Kentucky State Vietnam Veterans Memorial there, which is another very, very unique memorial to those who have given their lives for our country when they were in Vietnam.
I'm Lori Clay. I go by Airborne as my road name. I used to jump out of airplanes for a living when I was in the military. I was with the 82nd Airborne Division, so that's that road name kind of stuck with me and lives on. Having the opportunity to ride both routes has been something special, and I would recommend to everybody to ride both routes because each route has something special. Each location is something special, and no two locations are the same. On the central route is the Kentucky Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Whether you're on the central route, southern route, or just coming home, I would recommend stopping at this memorial. It is amazing. It is a sundial, a huge sundial, and within the sundial face is the names of the individuals in Kentucky from Vietnam that died. And that sundial, that shadow, hits that name at the time of the day of death. And to be able to stand on the sundial and look at the dial and see where the shadow hits is hard to express. There is so much emotion that goes on that you'll have to experience it. That's all I can say.
Well, to all of you people, I'd like to introduce my wife, Laura. She's flown into the United States to join me on the Run for the Wall. And I'm so glad she came. She joined me in Wentzville, flew into a thunderstorm and had a lot of delays, but finally she made it. And this is now the second day that she's riding with me on a motorcycle to DC. So far we visited 2 veteran hospitals. I must say that was an incredible visit. These people are truly what this run is all about, because these guys are still here, but they can't go. And we can. So I'm very pleased and honored to have met them, and they were actually really looking forward in meeting us, and they opened up to us wonderfully, and we had a wonderful stay there.
Yes, it was great. It was great talking to those people, and yeah, really, the run is great, and the hospitality and people waving and cheering, and it's just heartwarming.
Our friend described this last year as a hard, grueling ride, but an incredible journey, and it truly is. It is harsh and it is intense, but it is also incredible because of all the people we've met. Not only the veterans and the people we're riding with, but the warm welcome we've encountered in all these small communities who have done so much over the year just to feed us and comfort us. It's overwhelming. This is about good news coming from America. Yeah. Back in Europe where we live, it's always the bad news what comes to our headlines, not the good news. And this really is showing us the good side, and as far as I'm concerned, the best side of the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very fortunate. I feel very fortunate to have, that you people showed me this to us.
Yes.
And then we head down the road again, probably through one of the nicer sections of Kentucky that I've ever been through, and it's called the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. As you go into and through Lexington, Kentucky, we start to head towards Hurricane, West Virginia, which is a small town in the Taze Valley area that, once again, the town turns out for you. It continues to amaze me as each year goes by is the number of people that continue to come back year after year after year and supply to us such welcomeness, open arms, food, fuel, places to sleep. It's just great.
Okay, my name is Roger Hageman. I am from Fort Collins, Colorado, and I'm part of Run for the Wall. I've been on the Run for the Wall since 2006. This will be my 8th year. I started out as assistant platoon leader, then a platoon leader for several years, and the last 2 years I have been leader of the ambassador team. And that's just a phenomenal thing that I get to do. It's a privilege. When I first started on the run, I would see the people on the overpasses, and I thought, that is so precious that those people would come out and say howdy to us and give us their support. And I always wanted to find a way that we could thank them. And this one, when the ambassador team came up to be able to do that, that was a perfect job for me. So as our team, we go up on the overpasses, we go into schools, we go wherever we can to thank people for coming out and supporting Run for the Wall. It's a fantastic job to be able to do. Our first year, which was last year, 2012, the first overpass out of Rancho Cucamonga, we all went up there because it was all new to us, and we went up there on that overpass, and there were probably 10 or 15 people on that overpass, and they were scurrying about because we go ahead of the pack, and they were trying to get everything ready so they'd be ready when the pack came. And they ran over to us and were giving us flags so that we could help. Said, you guys can use these. And we said, wait a minute, we're not here for the flags or for the run. We're here for you. We want to thank you. And honestly, they started crying. We started crying. And it seems like it went that way the whole run. People were so appreciative, and it did not expect us. Many of them have said, you know, I've been up here 10 years and nobody ever stopped to say thanks. So when we're there, it's quite an emotional thing for them, and it's emotional for us too. It's a great, great privilege to be just a small part of that. Some of the towns that we go into, in fact all of them, are just so appreciative of us being there. Every time I see it, it just blows me away. And usually being an ambassadors, we are the first into the town, so people think we're the run when we only have 10 bikes, so we're really not. And when we go up there to give them a pin or something like that, to tell them thank you, they're so very appreciative. Tremendous encouragement for all of us. Every town we go into, every place we stop, people just come out and really make us feel welcome. They go beyond what they should have to do or need to do, but they just do a phenomenal job. When you think about the Run for the Wall, in my opinion, and I think others too, it is the greatest run in America. There's no motorcycle event that takes on the professionalism of this run, the preciseness of this run, the healing that takes place on this run is far and above anything any other motorcycle run does. And I have seen, even when not an ambassador, but also when I'm an ambassador, many lives actually changed because of what happens on the Run for the Wall.
We make a short run from Hurricane, West Virginia, way over to the state capital at Charleston, West Virginia. And I think we're the only motorcycle group in existence that can ride into the state capitol and occupy their entire grounds where it's not supposed to be occupied. We go right around a big bricked in area there right at the Capitol steps. and we park our bikes in there. And then we go over to the West Virginia State Memorial, have a ceremony there. We have had the opportunity on numerous occasions to have been in the presence of Medal of Honor recipients who have come out to talk with us and talk to us. The mayor, the governor of the state is also there. A number of people who work in the facility come out and meet us. And then comes the trek when we leave there to go up through the mountains, the coal communities of West Virginia, to a little town called Raynell.
So as we rode across that first year, somewhere out in the middle of Kentucky and going into West Virginia, we met up with a group out there, the Kentucky guys, and a guy named Greasy Belcher. And Greasy, you know, he's still there today, still helping Run for the Wall, still supporting us. He gets us over to West Virginia and we stop. And we're in a service station in the rain, and this Department of Transportation official is there, and he goes, you have to go down the West Virginia Turnpike. You're going to pay at every single toll booth, every single rider. And I think there's 4 toll booths, if I'm not mistaken. And I said, look, sir, you know, in Kansas, we went around the toll booth. They had a special thing, keep us moving. And then Abeta, Kansas helped pay for the toll. I said, if you just let us go around the toll booth, you add up how many riders there are and how much money we owe. I think it's $25 each. I said, we'll pay you at the end, but stopping every single motorcycle at every single toll booth in rain gear, it's dangerous. I said, and now we got 150 or 200 riders. He says, no, you got to stop. And right behind me was a guy named Gary Wetzel. Gary is a Medal of Honor recipient. He rode his Harley with us halfway. He's missing an arm. Big boy with his medal. And to this day, I don't know if he had his medal around his neck or not. Doesn't really matter. But Gary and I looked at each other, and I had a map. And I go, Gary, I don't see why we got to do a toll road when there's this perfectly good free road, Highway 60 through the mountains. We'll just take that. And Gary goes, okay, you're the leader, go. And that's what we did. We got on that bad road, and I'll tell you what, until you've done Highway 60 with a pack of 150 motorcycles, you can't say you've done any riding at all, because it twists and it twines and it goes uphill and downhill, tight turns with a pack behind me, looking in the mirror the whole time. And then all of a sudden we come up over a crest, and there's a cop up there, and he jumps out in front of us. I go, oh God, something's going on, I don't know. As we get ready to go downhill, Gary and I look down this little community, and there's all these people in the street. I go, oh, Gary, man, it's a major wreck down there. They're gonna back us up forever. He goes, ah, Gunny, keep riding, we'll see what happens. And we get down in the middle of this community, and this police chief and some other folks had gotten on the radio and told this community to get out, the veterans are coming. And he went out and bought these little American flags. As we came through this little town of Raynell, West Virginia, here's all these kids and town folk waiting on us. They've been out there for an hour or so, out of school, waiting on us. I go, I've never seen this. I can't believe the kids are out here. And they literally swamped us. Well, it was not a stop, it was not a planned stop. But all of a sudden we're hot and we're tired, and there's a Dairy Queen with ice cream, and there's kids, and we just stopped in the middle of the road. You know, they asked us to pull over, and here these people were. And to this day, 25 years later, Raynell, West Virginia, not only welcomes us as we are today, and as a much larger pack, 700-800 riders, they feed us, they take care of us, they bed us down for the night if we want. The school still comes. But what's really important are those school children that visited us that very first year and came out to see us, they now bring their children to us. And, you know, it's amazing just to see that in the middle of America today, because you don't see it too many often places. What Run for the Wall did, though, for that little community, it opened the door to these children. It opened a door in a way that most towns never get. You have to understand that that part of West Virginia, the very, very poor part of Appalachia, mostly coal miners, but also per capita, West Virginia lost more men in Vietnam than any other state. And that little town lost several of its sons there. Last year, I had a lady hunt me down in the cafeteria of the grade school, and she had a t-shirt that she had signed 24 years ago last year with my name on it and the names of all the writers who signed that t-shirt. Refuses to wash it, and that is one of the most important possessions. She now has her 2 young daughters, and they will be there this year to greet us and to sign their t-shirts. And we not only sign their shirts, they sign our shirts. It's just a welcome home that is just unbelievable. And every vet, Vietnam, Iraqi, Cold War, Afghanistan, deserves that welcome home.
Well, I'm John Lewis, and I'm principal of Raynell Elementary. And this is Raynell Elementary behind me, the new version. We have always been patriotic and teach our kids to be respectful of the veterans and to respect our country and its symbols. So we have lots of history behind us as far as patriotism goes. And this community supports Run for the Wall, has for 25 years. The children look forward to this. It's one of the highlights of the year. The veterans come to the school, but the children love them. They have always been really excited for days before the veterans come in. And of course, in the morning, any motorcycle that goes through town gets them up and excited. The veterans are celebrities. They kids get autographs. They're thrilled to be a part of it, but they really respect. I think they really love the veterans.
I'm Trent Crew, and I'm honored to be the mayor of the town of Wytheville, Virginia. When Run for the Wall started coming here, it was 13 years ago when the Southern Route was born. They basically needed a gas stop and a stop for the night with motels. And Lori Clay, who was then the Virginia coordinator, had stopped at several towns up and down the Interstate 81 corridor. And when she stopped here, she happened to stop at a Holiday Inn. And the desk clerk there, when she was asking for room rates and things, referred her to Rosa Jude and the town staff, who's our director of marketing and meeting center. And then they started talking, and of course Rosa was saying, yes, we'd love to have you come. And apparently lots of communities are worried about having a bunch of bikers come in, remembering this was 13 years ago. And in the conversation, then Rosa said to Lori, well, the mayor rides a motorcycle, do you want to talk to him? And they called me, and I went, and kind of the rest is history, as it turns out. I've been fortunate to ride with them every year. I've gone, in 2011 I went all the way, but I've gone out and met them and come back with the run every year. Originally it was kind of that crazy mayor on a motorcycle, brought a bunch of his motorcycle buddies to town. First year I think there was about 100 and 150 bikes. We've been very supportive. This is a very special town, and it's way beyond being that crazy mayor and a bunch of his motorcycle buddies now. When we run in off the interstate, and you see people basically for about 2 miles lined up just shouting and yelling, waving American flags as the bikes come in. And then when we leave the next day, it's the same thing on the way out of town. There are a number of organizations that have stepped up. The Moose Lodge here gives a steak dinner every year when the ride comes through. You know, the numbers change every time we stop. Somebody adds or drops off, and you wonder how many they have to fix supper for. Somehow they've never run out. They always pull it off and get it done. Harley Davidson shop here brings in extra staff, and they stay open all night if need be. 2069 in Dublin with the Volvo plant. They make the trucks, they come here. They're here lots of times during the year, but they unveil those trucks and show them to the public in this park on Wednesday afternoon when the run comes into the town of Wytheville. It's the first place they're publicly displayed.
Hey, I'm Mark Peterson, and I proudly serve the United Auto Workers as chairman of Local 2069's Veterans Committee. And we proudly build the Volvo USA-made truck just down the road about 30 miles in Dublin, Virginia. We became involved with Run for the Wall about 13 years ago when they started coming to Wytheville. And ever since then, it's been a blessing, an educational experience, and an emotional experience. And it's a wonderful time of year when they come to Wytheville, and when Memorial Day comes upon us, we look forward to Run for the Wall. We appreciate the job that Wytheville's done, so we want to thank Mayor Trent Crew and the town of Wytheville for their support in this. We build the Volvo trucks in Dublin, Virginia. For the past 22 years, we've been having our own Run to the Wall. I guess for the past 12 years, we've been able to design these trucks to this extent, and we use an artist, Brad Walker, in Washington State. And through him and I, and a lot of emails and pictures and conversations, We try to come up with a theme that is thought-provocative, educational, and it has some healing aspect to it. It's not a running billboard for us or for our company. It's for veterans, it's for the military, and it's for their families. It's for the POWs and the MIAs. It's for every branch of service. It's for every patriot. And we hope that something of importance is taken from it each year. I'm really proud and I've had great opportunity to ride all across the United States, and you name it, just about everywhere. And I always look on the internet and I find veterans memorials and veteran related things out there to go visit. And it puts a thought in my mind of how we want to design the year's coming trucks. We're always looking for something, again, that's going to educate somebody, it's going to open their eyes and maybe have them scratch their head, and it's going to have some healing measure to it. That's the most important thing, is to help in any kind of way, help provide some healing.
I'm Kimberly Ingo. I'm principal at Spiller Elementary in Wythe County, Virginia. I've been a part of this program actually for 13 years. I was a teacher, a 4th grade teacher in the building just behind this area here, and heard the cyclists coming in and was interested and brought my children out. And I think that's kind of how it started for Spiller. And asked the principal's permission to be able to bring my class out the next morning, and we did. We had a small group and brought out cards to the riders out that morning, and we kind of tied it into our lesson very quickly. We involve our faculty, our staff, our cafeteria staff, our music teacher, our art teacher, and all of our students. In the past 3 years, we've actually started a morning breakfast the morning that they arrive, and that has really been a fun treat. We've involved more parents that way, and having the riders actually to come visit our school in the morning has been a wonderful new thing for us. Run for the Wall has had a huge impact on me personally. I had the opportunity as a parent to go with students who had participated in Run for the Wall to actually take a trip to DC. I remember as we were approaching the wall, there was a group of kids that I was with, 6th graders at the time, turned around and looked at me and said, "Miss Ingo, I got it." And I said, "What do you mean you got it?" "That's the wall. That's the wall. That's what we talk about." And I'm sorry I'm emotional about that, but it was monumental for me that I finally got to bring full circle the learning lessons that we do at the elementary level, and to follow it at a 6th grade level the next year was pretty amazing for me personally, and not only as a parent but as an administrator. And I'm very proud of our faculty and staff and our community for instilling some of the values that Run for the Wall brings to Whiffle.
Well, my name is Kaylee Ingo, and I'm a student at Scott Memorial Middle School, and I'm an 8th grader. And I have done Run for the Wall since I was in kindergarten at Spiller Elementary. And I can just remember from day one when we all got close to getting into May, we'd make cards and everything to give to the bike riders so they could take up to the wall. And then the day when it all came, we were all excited in our red, white, and blue, and we'd all come down in lines and walk across the street. And we'd see all the bikers and all the bikes just sitting around the track and just amazed. And then when it got time for dismissal, we'd get up in the stands and we'd all sit together and start chanting USA and everything just as a send-off. In my last year of elementary school in 5th grade, I actually got to stand up and read a poem called "The Missing Man" in front of everyone here. And it was quite an experience to get in front of all those bikers and stand there and read a poem about a soldier who had lost his life. Just to see all the emotions through everyone and how it touched everyone's heart, just to know that there are people every day that are dying just for our freedom so that we can do the things that we want to do every day.
Hi, my name is Julie Vinage. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. Behind us is Fallen Heroes Dream Ride. This is a moving memorial to honor our youngest son, Lance Corporal Philip Vinage. Lance Corporal Philip Vinage was an amazing young man. 9/11 happened, he was 10 years old, and he came to his father and I, and at that time he told us he wanted to go into the military because he wanted to get the bad guy. He actually wanted to be sworn in on 9/11/09. Philip was deployed They were on their first mission. It was October 13, 2010. He was the driver of an MATV, and they were hit by a remote IED. It was approximately 100 to 120 pound bomb, and it destroyed the vehicle. All 4 of them were instantly killed. They received 25 KIAs on their 7-month deployment, 200 wounded, and experienced over 900 IEDs. And this was out of approximately 800 men. Philip always wanted an old Chevy pickup, and we were never able to find one that he and his dad could agree on. About 2 weeks after Philip was killed, it was approximately 40 miles away from our home, we found a 51 Chevy pickup, and it had 28,000 original miles on it. If you ask any of the family, we'll say that Philip found it for us. It took 18 months. We totally restored the vehicle. We had an airbrush artist come out, and it took him 6 weeks. He goes by Harry for Harry Did It. He lives in Indiana, and he created this rolling memorial behind us. On the hood, you have the portrait of Philip. Behind Philip is the Eagle Globe and Anchor, and then the American flag. The front corner of the driver's side has the 3-5 emblem. Then you go to the destroyed vehicle. On the driver's door, you have the 4 men that were in the vehicle. You travel around the back, we have the words, all gave some gave all, and that's also our license plate. If you travel on the passenger side, you start with the Patriot Guard Riders, and we were not familiar with the Patriot Guard Riders until we lost our son. They received 2 hours notice for when Philip flew into St. Louis to be taken to the funeral home, and we had over 100 riders show up to escort Philip. Then when we took Philip to Jefferson Barracks, where he's buried, we had over 200. One of the things we heard from quite a few of Philip's buddies is usually they're deployed whenever there's a funeral, so they don't get to honor the men. Well, we did a 1-year remembrance for Philip, and we had 5 of his buddies come out here from Camp Pendleton, so they all got to respect Philip and show their honors to Philip. Philip had a ritual of, on a Friday night, he'd buy a 6-pack of Samuel Adams and a South Park DVD. So that's what Samuel Adams is that are next to his headstone. He also was with a young lady, and it was this infinity sign, and that's why Buzz is on there, because him and his fiance would say, "I love you for infinity and beyond." When Philip turned 21, his dad went out and they had a toast of whiskey, and then of course the yellow roses are from me. Then you'll see myself standing there when they just gave me the flag that was over his casket. If you travel forward, you have the Marines doing the 21-gun salute, and then you have a gold star on the front right corner. The gold star represents that we have lost a loved one serving in the military. If you have someone active duty, it's a blue star. If you have someone that has died or been killed, it's a gold star. Unfortunately, they're just introducing a new one, and that's a purple star. And that is for other deaths or suicides. Right now, we are at 22 suicides per day amongst veterans. Also, if you look at the back window of the cab, you'll see a Marine standing there guarding the gates of heaven. Then you'll see the 25 names, and those are the 25 men that were killed on Philip's deployment. And then below the window, you see 25 battlefield crosses with the sunset of Camp Pendleton setting in the background. And we honored Philip, all of 3-5 honored the men at Camp Pendleton when the battalion got back. Thank you for letting me share, Philip. It's Fallen Heroes Dream Ride. We started in St. Louis, Missouri. We're going to Washington, D.C. We actually get to be part of Rolling Thunder on Sunday. We will have the truck displayed the whole day at the Marine Corps Museum on Saturday, and then we are going to be driving the truck and participating in the National Parade on Monday. Thank you.
Up bright and early in the morning. It's about a 280-mile day that day, 290 miles. We go up to Interstate 66, which goes east and west through Virginia, and we stop at a little town up there called Front Royal, and we do gas, and we have a lunch there, and we have our final meeting of the day, that this is now where we're going to go and what we're going to do, and we're going to be pulling into Arlington to the host hotel and parking, and if there's any changes that have been made. But it's also probably one of the most traffic hectic days, because we are now interacting with all of the traffic around DC, and we've been fortunate to have police escorts a couple of times to take us in there, and that helps alleviate the burden. So it becomes a pretty trying time sometimes going down through there. You start doing stop and goes, your bikes start getting a little bit warmer, some of them start to get to the point where they feel like they're going to vapor lock on you, and geez, we're this close, am I going to make it without any problems? And I've had those chills run through me a couple of times that I was thinking that something's going to happen and I'm not going to make it, and I'm going to have to pull over here and be a dead duck sitting alongside the road. But we've managed to be able to get in there, and when we get to the host hotel, when we pull into the parking lot and we park, it's just, you just hear the uproar of the guys and the gals that, yeah, we've done it, we've made it, we're here. And it's a great feeling. The next morning, we gather up between the southern route and the central route, 400 FNGs, and we ride into, from the host hotel, we ride into Arlington National Cemetery. And each route coordinator has picked a primary and an alternate to be a participant in the laying of a wreath from Run for the Wall at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And we do that. It's a very solemn time. It's an eye-opener for a lot of people. They've always heard it, but they've never been able to witness it. So we want to make sure that the FNGs get that opportunity to go in there and do that.
Today, I was honored to be able to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I actually helped put that together 25 years ago. I've been the one who told somebody else to lay the wreath many times, but for the first time I did it, and I was honored by having John Baca on my left with this Medal of Honor around his neck, and I know his story and the courageous acts he's done. And then to my back was Gump, a prisoner of war from Afghanistan, who we've kind of adopted as another son, a wonderful man. And then right to my very, very back, another young Marine just out of Afghanistan just a year and a half ago. He was serving in 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines, which is the 8th Marines is one of my old units that I had served in before. And I felt so honored, and I was looking up on the steps, and I could look out across the way and see, you know, from past the tomb and on down the hill and see all of, you know, the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial, and think, God, this is such a great country.
I know you've already been briefed on how this is supposed to work. I'm going to give you another talk here just to make sure we're on the same page, okay?
Very good. Halt.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
From Arlington and Atum, we migrate over to the Lincoln Memorial, and at 1 o'clock we have a group photo with the southern route and the central route all together on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And we have a great big massive entourage of people there and we get our picture taken. And then the route coordinators, predominantly the route coordinators, get together and they migrate over to the Vietnam Memorial, which is about 150 yards away. And they go down to the apex of the wall and they will place a mission complete plaque there. And the rest of the group is basically do what you want to for the day, but a number of us go over there and pay our respects to our fallen brothers. And there's a number of guys that migrate down to the wall. They want to have their solitude. Apologies. Goodbyes, I'm back. Some of them take gifts down and leave them at the wall. Flags, vests, 6 packs of beer, bottle of scotch. Notably, somebody left a motorcycle there one year. And every day and late in the evening, all of this stuff is gathered up by the park police and inventoried and turned over to the Smithsonian Institute, and they categorize it and they store it. Nothing is ever thrown away. So they must have a massive, massive warehouse that just says Vietnam Memorial on it, because it's for all these years, and this has been going on, that these gifts of gratitude and love have been left there for buddies and loved ones.
We're finally arrived here in Washington, D.C. at the Vietnam War Memorial, the wall, of course. And this concludes our Run for the Wall for 2013. I was granted the honor of riding Missing Man formation. It blew me away, basically. After we were finished, I asked Bones why he picked me instead of all the others, because I'm one of the few people who aren't American, obviously. And he said, you know, this one was about comrades in arms, and we have fought so long and so many wars together. You needed to be there, so thank you for that.
It is a wonderful ride, and even though I'm not a veteran, I'm the wife of a veteran. I'm in the police force, and we just put at the wall a
reef
for all the police. I was saying to Martin the other day that we don't have memorials like this as big and in Europe. It's amazing to be here and be part of it.
Now there was this voluntary guard who was explaining how the wall was built and how the wall was erected here. And I learned that the wall starts in the middle in 1959, goes to the east side in time, gets smaller, and then it's continued on the other side, on the west side, on the small side, and in the middle, the last casualty of the Vietnam War is joined with the first one. So that's make it a circle, basically. It's a life-changing event for me, because leaving the armed forces in 2010 left me kind of lost. And doing this trip from Philadelphia all the way to LA, and then joining the Run for the Wall back here to the wall and meeting all these incredible people helped me so much transform into a veteran, basically. That's what this run has done for me. So yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for that, because basically I needed that. I didn't know, but I did.
We've had a great time. We just finished up today by going to the wall. It's been a great trip. 10 days on the road with some fantastic people. Some great experiences. Really enjoyed the towns we went to and the people we saw. We went through American towns. We got to see the people in small towns, and they opened their hearts to us. It was wonderful.
Something I wanted to say, I should have said a week ago. On our first day out, we stayed at Williams, Arizona that night, and a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in 43 years, since Vietnam, came up to visit. It was a pretty neat deal. We had a beer together in the motel room, my brother, my friend and I, and my cousin. And talked about old times. So here today, made it all the way, didn't crash and burn on the way. I told him I would look up some friends on the wall. I attempted to do that. I just couldn't. And I've been here many times before. Maybe it's the crowds that's getting to me, because I've been here when there's just 3 or 4 people here. And I've looked up my friends on the wall. Couldn't do it today. I think this run for the wall, I think all along has been building up to this. I didn't think it'd get to me, because like I say, I've been here many times before. But it got to me. And I think it means a lot. It means different things to different people, but I think it means a lot. And probably, if there's family members here who witness this, they might think, look at all these guys rode to this wall just to see their friends. But it's over with now. Gonna take the scenic route home. Time to reflect, going back. It's been quite an experience.
Well, let's see. For me, this is day 13. Started on the 11th of, the day before Mother's Day. So it's been a little bit longer than a lot of other people's. Not as long as some. Some people started from here on the East Coast and went out there. First of all, I'll say it's the toughest motorcycle ride I've ever done in my life. It was a challenge. The number of days, the style of riding, it was real tough. I'm absolutely glad that I did it though, for so many reasons. People I've met, just some incredible people. You know, everybody's so supportive. I had a lot of reasons for doing it. Skittles, Billy Joe was one. When people found out that I was coming on the run and going to the wall, I actually had people asking me to scratch the name of a family member that, you know, is on the wall. And when I offered to do that, I mean, it just meant so much to them. The culmination of going to Arlington and seeing John Baca lay the wreath, to see the soldiers that have the highest honor of being, you know, the honor guard for the unknown soldier. To see that, you know, Arlington and that hallowed ground. And then when it was all said and done, to go to the wall, scratch those names, know that I was doing something so special for a family member, to have the memorial we did for Skittles. It's just, for me, that was closure. For me, that just really meant so much. One of the most powerful things I've ever done. And I'll never forget it. It's a part of me for the rest of my life.
And Sunday morning, when we get back on our motorcycles and we parade over to the north parking lot of the Pentagon, bright and early in the morning at about 7 o'clock. We park in there, and we are now there to support Rolling Thunder. And we participate in the Rolling Thunder parade demonstration, which again is an issue of we have POWs and we have MIAs, and we want an accounting for them.
Well, my name is Arnie Swift. I have a road name. It's Postmaster, and I got started with a run in 1997. I had a couple friends. They were Marines. I was two were in Army, and we decided we needed to go to the wall and see what was going on. So we started in Kansas City at that time and rode the rest of the way there. And it's one of those things where you say, you know, I'll do it once and that'll be okay. And then something strange happens about December. You get kind of this itch, this kind of gnawing that says, well, maybe one more time. And that one more time has turned into 16 years of doing it. One of the hardest things I ever did was actually in '97, the first year. My good friend Cliff, we were FNGs, and he had never been to the wall, and he had a couple of his friends' names on there. And I had been to the wall one other time. And the interesting thing, before we even got down to the wall, back then the group was small enough. We only had about 100 bikes at the most. The park ranger made a comment. She says, you know, how many of you have never been to the wall? And surprisingly, over half the people raised their hands. And she said, there's only two reasons why you've never been here. One, you've never had the money or the time. But she said the biggest reason is you're terrified of the wall and what it represents. And, you know, years later, I understand what she was talking about. But I took my friend down. We were coming in from the west side, and he just stopped. He couldn't move. And I probably held him in my arms while he bawled for at least 30 minutes. You know, I told him, I said, okay, let's go visit Abe for a while and take our time. And it took over 2.5 hours to get him down to the wall. And I've seen time and time again friends get down to the wall and just sit there and bawl. And The one thing that keeps coming across more than anything is the survivor guilt. You know, why are all my buddies on this wall, and why did I make it? And I don't know that you ever get rid of that feeling. And the wall beckons that feeling every time you go there. Nobody knows how they're going to react in certain situations. None of us knew how we were going to react in combat, you know. I'm thankful I didn't have to squeeze a trigger or any of that. But at the same time, I was also the guy that had to write the letters home. And to me, that was just about as bad. But to me, to not go to the wall, especially if you're a Vietnam veteran, I think you really do yourself a disservice. Yes, it's a wall with 58,000 plus names on it. But like so many of us who have made that journey have found, there is an incredible amount of healing at that wall. I'm amazed at some of the things that people leave there. You know, they've left motorcycles, they've left parts of helicopters. I had somebody leave 2 bottles of beer, one open and one closed, and somebody made the comment, why would they do that? That's disrespectful. And I said, no, that's actually the highest honor they can give, because they're sharing it with that person's name on the wall. And, you know, for me, most of the people that I dealt with in Vietnam, I don't remember their names. Kind of like being a biker, everybody's got road names, and we gave people nicknames because you wanted to be close enough because you depended on them, but you didn't want to get so close that if you lost them. And I think what happens on the run, especially if you're able to go all the way from Rancho to Washington, D.C., you can sit down and talk with brothers and sisters who have been there. And they can help you work through things. You know, the issue of PTSD. I have bunked with some people that have PTSD so bad that I'm scared of them. But you know what? It's about making that journey and working through that, because it's only in the sharing, it's only in the dealing with the issue that we can help them. You know, I'm sure that most people were like me when we came back. You know, you talk to a few people and pretty soon they don't want to talk to you, so you shut up, you quit talking about it, you bottle it all in. All that does is fester and fester, and pretty soon you become bitter, and somewhere along the line you have to forgive, you have to forget, and you have to move on. And I think that's the opportunity that the Run for the Wall really offers, is you that opportunity to sit down with that guy that understands what you went through, because he was there too, you know? And I think the journey to the wall, if you can make it all the way through, and make it through the VA hospital stops, the evening with the Navajo Indians, Rennell, the beautiful Kentucky Memorial, if you can make it to the wall and let the wall do what it was intended to do, I think you're better off.
It's very emotional, it's very moving, it's a life-changing experience to go on Run for the Wall. And I would recommend any veteran or anybody who has a true patriotic heart to make this run at least once in their life, whether it be on a motorcycle, a trike, or in a car, or a pickup truck. Last year we had a woman that did it on a Vespa, all the way from California to DC. But it is truly a life-changing experience. It has changed my life tremendously and has made me really understand that I'm not alone in this, and that there's a lot of people out there that are a heck of a lot worse off than I am, and some that don't have it quite as bad as I do. But everybody can benefit from this run and the emotional healing that you can get from it. No matter what your situation is, you can definitely get a benefit from it. We have 2 routes, but we have one mission. And that one mission is to promote the healing of all veterans, no matter what era, and to let them be able to make a transition from California to Washington, D.C. with a family that understands where they're at, what they've gone through, to let them know that they're not in this alone, and hopefully be able to return back home to a new life and a new beginning with a better understanding, and being able to hopefully explain that to their families so that they understand. We still want an accounting for our POWs. We still want an accounting for our MIAs. We honor those people who have served and who have given their lives for our country, our KIAs, and we support our military throughout the world in the mission that they're doing today.
To the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Marines, we were young, we were tough, we were ready for hell. We are making the run for the wall.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare of bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the whole